Hey everybody, Mr. Bucko here with your first Power Standards quiz from Chapter 6, where we are asked to find the slope or the rate of change from a table and or a graph. So all the questions here will be determining the slope or rate of change from tables or graphs. And this first question here is the only one where I have determined the slope. And again, slope and rate of change all mean the same thing, and we're asked to determine it from the table given. So this again is a question straight from one of your quizzes where we have our x values and our y values, and we want to find that rate of change. And to find the rate of change, what we're going to do is calculate the differences between the x values and the y values. And we can kind of pick any values we want, but we're going to kind of go one at a time. So if I pick the first difference of the x values, that first difference is 2, because getting from 2 to 4 has a difference of 2. If I come over here and find the difference from 7 to 13, that difference is 6, because the difference from 7 up to 13 is a 6. If I keep going, I can do these for any sets of points that I want to. From 4 to 6 is 2, 13 to 19 is 6, 6 to 8 is 2, 19 to 15 is 6, 10 to 8 or 8 to 10 is 2, and 25 to 31 is 6. And the slope is the change in y over the change in x, or the change in y divided by the change in x. So we take each of the corresponding values together, and here it's going to be pretty easy because everything's the same. So we have 6 over 2, 6 over 2, 6 over 2, 6 over 2. We're matching the differences between each of the two corresponding values. So the rate of change, or the slope in this case, is 6 over 2, which is equal to 3. So every time that this increases up, x increases by 1, y increases by 3. If we were to put a 3 in here, this value in here would be a 10. So for every 1 that x increases, y increases by 3. That's what's happening here, where this 3 comes from. Another example, same exact question, determine the slope or the rate of change. I'm going to go from negative 5 to 3, that changes 2. From 7 to 4, that changes 3. 7 to 4 is 3. So I'm going to take these two values here that correspond with the x and y values that they came from and put those over each other. So that rate of change, or that change there, is 3 over 2. Now if this is the line, all these values should be the same here. So we find negative 3 to 3 is 6, 4 to 13 is 9. So we have 9 and 6, so we're going to treat that as 9 over 6. Moving on, we have 3 and 15. The difference there is 12. Then we have 13 and 31. That difference is 18, so we have 18 over 12. There's another rate of change there. And then we have 15 over 17, 31 over 31, and then 34. And we have the difference of 2 between 15 and 17, difference of 3 between 31 and 34. So that rate of change is 3 over 2. Now what we notice here is that all of these fractions are the same, and they should always be the same. If they're not the same, then this isn't a line. It's not a constant increase or a constant decrease situation. It's just kind of all over the place. So we want all these to be the same, and all these fractions are the same. 3 halves is obviously the same as 3 halves. 9 over 6 can be reduced to 3 halves, as can 18 and 12. 18 and 12 can be reduced to 3 halves. So all these fractions here are all the answer. They're all the same. It doesn't really matter which one you put down. The most important one is probably reducing it to simplest terms, which would be 3 over 2. That would be at the rate of change for this table, because when we calculate those differences between any 2 points that we pick, we get 3 over 2. That's what it breaks down to at the end of the day. Going from a graph, we have this graph here where we have to again determine the rate of change or the slope. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take points on this graph, and there's a whole bunch of points, but I'm going to pick these points. Negative 1, 6 is on this line. Negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 1, 6 is on this line, as is 1, 7. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as is 3, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all these points are on this line, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the previous two. Calculate the differences between negative 1 and 1, which is 2. Calculate the difference between 6 and 7, which is 1. Calculate the difference between 1 and 3, which is 2. Calculate the difference between 7 and 8, which is also 1. And then I'm going to take 1 over 2. It's the same as 1 over 2. 1/2 is our rate of change in this table, and what that means is that if I go up 1, I go over 2 to get to another point. Up 1, over 2, and it's another point. Up 1, over 2 is another point. Up 1 over 2 is another point. So the rate of change from the graph is 1/2.